you foresee dealing with not just the CBI, but looking at the revenue sharing holistically. Now, we have to be supposing and wondering when the reality is World Bank would have done a report. And so we now have to wonder if it's because of some of these things that you're talking about, where instead of just looking at the CBI sharing arrangement that the Premier was zoomed in and focused on, that we realize the World Bank would have realized that there was and is a breach in Constitution where there's supposed to be a revenue sharing arrangement, but it is being totally ignored. And then it leaves the other question that I usually have is, what guarantee one could reasonably have if there is supposed to be a constitutional arrangement, which is the highest law in the land, and you have politicians disrespecting the highest law of the land, and now you expect to have another agreement that is outside of the Constitution to address CBI? What guarantee that I have that you're not just going to disrespect that eventually just because you disrespect the Constitution?
The first thing I would ask of you, Banky, is this. If or tomorrow we are forced to close down the CBI program, you're under your way that we have been under immense pressure in terms of the CBI program, whether it is from international countries such as the US, the EU, Canada, etc. We also have come under severe competition from other islands within the OECS. The question I want to know is, if today or tomorrow we're forced to close the CBI program, does the clause in the Constitution which speaks to the revenue sharing agreement between St. Kitts and Nevis, does it go away?
Not as far as I know. As far as I know.
Exactly.
As far as I know, no, it still stays. But however, so then why is that allowed to be disrespected and the law totally being broken without any repercussions?
Thank you. It still stays. So while there has been a focus on CBI, as I said earlier, it's not merely about CBI. The Constitution is not specific. It doesn't speak to CBI. It doesn't say revenue coming into the Inland Revenue Department. It doesn't say revenue coming into customs. It is the entire revenue coming in coffers of the government. Now, you ask, how does one more or less get a guarantee that will be done, be it by myself as part of a government or any other government? You would have pointed out one of the remedies available to persons, and that is, it can be pursued legally to ensure that it is, because this is what the Constitution says ought to happen. But I also point out again that people, the citizens of St. Nevis, they also have a responsibility over the government feels, and we continue to give support to that government. It cannot be that we are in opposition. We say one thing, and then we get into government, we practice something which is totally different. You know, in some other jurisdictions, you have government one.
You're breaking up a bit. You're chopping up. I'm not hearing you fully.
Because
You may need to refresh.
recognize
You may need to
that
refresh and come back, Mr.
both
Richards, because
governments,
you're breaking up a bit. Honorable Richards, we're not hearing you clearly, so you may have to refresh
the internet is a bit.
and come back. In the interim, while
Oh,
you get yourself
is it any
started
better
out,
now?
well, we're seeing you now again, and we're hearing you a little bit. But I'm going to give you a little chance to probably do that while I take in some of the comments that are on the Facebook wall. Give you a chance to probably refresh and get yourself set up. So we had Kevin Hanley saying good night. Kevin, I apologize. Last week I did see Kevin before we do the show in the bank, and Kevin tell me, man, make sure you big me up and so on. I came on the show and we got into all we dealing with, and I forget about bigging up my boy Kevin. So Kevin, enough respect. He said, how you guys doing? So we're doing pretty okay. Enough respect to you. Appreciate you tuning in, and continue. I just hope that you continue being the positive youth that you seem to be, and don't get yourself into any trouble.
Yeah,
I want
man.
you to
Big up
continue
yourself,
to
Kevin.
work in school. And who knows? You might be one of the next successful elected officials. We never know. It could be the next premier and all too. So just keep yourself on that positive tip, and we want to continue to encourage you and your family and son to continue to support you as much as possible as a young man. I love your energy. I love how you try to keep pushing. Respectable youngster. Just keep at it, right? Jetty Taylor. Only 2 questions. Does Shawn regret joining back and bashing up the government? Are you on a jet? Okay, so that's okay. Personal. Um, okay, all right. Jetty Taylor. Kevin Allen says good night, Honorable. Iona Doe says good night, all. Jetty Taylor. Would he like to join with Tim again? Okay, so those are some of the things. Some of the other comments are there on the wall and so on, but sometimes we try to just make sure we deal with a lot more of the positive energies and so on, right? So, okay, so those are some of the comments that we have there on the YouTube side. Sherry and Richard says good night. That's about it so far. It seems as if I got frozen over on that side, so I don't know if really maybe we do have more comments, but I missed them, but I'll find out here. Okay, so far, no, nothing else. Okay, so I think you're looking good again, Mr. Richard. So we're going to give you an opportunity now to get back to where you left off, if you did. And then, Banky, after this, I realized that I would have, conducted most of the questions. And I know you probably may have some questions for yourself as well. I do have some other questions, but I'll let you get in and, ask some of your questions. And then we continue along the line. So, Mr. Richards, if you remember where you were and you want to continue from there, or if you just want to let me, let Banky get into
when Shawn finished, then we take a break at the top of the hour, and then I come in with my question after the break. After Shawn finish, we go break
right.
after when Shawn finished.
Right. So you got a couple of minutes that take us up to the next hour, and then we take a break, maybe a 3-4 minutes break, and give yourself a chance to maybe drink some water and stretch out, and then we come back at it again. All right?
Certainly. Yes, I was saying to you that there are different ways in which one can hold the government accountable to ensure that the government respects the Constitution, be it about the revenue sharing agreement or any other aspect of the Constitution. I pointed out that be pursued legally. I pointed out that in terms of persons removing a government which has not kept its promises, that can also be exercised by the voters. For the fact that persons have different means available to them to demonstrate to the government are not satisfied that you are not keeping the promises that you would have made, you are not adhering to the Constitution of St. Kitts and Nevis. So these are avenues which persons use to hold a government accountable. There are other ways which, of course, can be more extreme in terms doing this. You have businesses in Nevis, for example, and just as you have a legal entitlement to do certain things as a entity, the government has a legal obligation to things. If you as a business or an ordinary citizen, if you all decided to come together, because there is a power in unity, so that if persons decide to unite certain actions to indicate to the government that is serious, then you would force that government to take action. A lot of the revenue that the government receives is either from individuals. Somebody saying that the audio is choppy. I don't
Yes,
know
a
if
bit.
it's
But Mr. Richards, here's one of the things.
what I probably will do during the break is to relocate from where I am to a space that is closer to the Wi-Fi modem, and
Okay,
hopefully
yes,
that would help
yes,
alleviate the issue that we are
yes.
having.
But before you go, right, one of the things that I think is probably a major challenge for people, because as you're saying this, when you look at the breaches that are coming from the highest position, because one of the breaches that we're talking about here is the government of Nevis deciding that they're going to hold the VAT and they are not going to pay this, do this revenue sharing in terms of the taxable revenues. That's a decision made by politicians, the highest seats in the land. And then you have, here is it then, when you talk about the people trying now to do their part in terms of enforcing constitutionality, you would have had the Sankofa case where cannabis is concerned, where Sankofa would have taken the government to courts, the case highlighting the fact that we have certain constitutional rights, and then we still have, even now after that has been highlighted and some bills have been gazetted, because the government is in a position where they have not put certain regulations together, the people are still being punished for exercising their rights. And so when you have situations like this, how challenging, so even though you're asking the people to do these things and they're doing these things, and then you still have these same people who are in these positions still kind of like they're doing what they feel like.
I think you have forcefully made the point just now that there are different ways in which persons can force a government to do certain things. The Nevis Island administration can decide that it's going to take certain action. Individuals can decide that they will take certain action. I can speak for myself in that you have a number of cases which went before the court, one as far as the Privy Council, which involved Shawn Richards. He basically saying that you are doing is illegal, and I am going to challenge it. And that was done in a number of cases. You had, for example, the Increase Bill. That was challenged before the... You had...
Mr. Richards, hold 1 second. I think in our fairness, because I'm getting several comments that your broadcast is choppy on your side, and you're our guest, and we really want to give you the opportunity and the guest to to fully hear exactly what you're saying. So let's try this. Let's take the break now and give yourself that opportunity to make that shift and whatever adjustments that you can make, so that when you come back, that we can get you we and the listeners can get what you're saying fully, because we want to give you that opportunity to express your thoughts and so on on the program. So technician, if you're listening.
At Shabazz Organics, we believe real people deserve real food. So we're bringing you to Mansa's Last Stop, a farm where food barriers are removed and legacy is sustained. We believe there's power in picking, so we allow you to decide what leaves the farm and enters your kitchen organically.
Beat the summer heat, come and get your carambola, star fruit, make very nice drink. Come pick them yourself. All the trees them full of vitamin C, antioxidant, build up your immune system. Mine's the last stop. A whole shopping bag for only $10. Half a shopping bag you pay $5. If you get $2, you must get some. Come get your carambola. Don't want to go to wait. Let's go, people.
Welcome to Wally Paints, where quality is our business. Our paint selection promises to be long-lasting and weather-resistant. Here's your chance to choose from an array of purples, various shades of greens, our beautiful pinks, vibrant shades of reds, mellow yellows, our bright whites, chill grays, cool blues, cozy creams, and our warm browns. We also carry a selection of finishes, stains, and sealants which protect and enhance surfaces by adding color, creating protective barriers against moisture, UV rays, wear, and sealing gaps. Our prices are unbeatable. 1 gallon at $150, 2 gallons at $250, 3 gallons at $350, and 5 gallons at $475. Call us at 869-660-8820 or 869-664-9127. Let us elevate your paint dreams today.
When comfort, class, and reliability matter, choose the ride that delivers more. Imperial Rides Transportation Services, where every journey is treated like royalty. From airport transfers, private events, shopping trips, island tours, and executive travel, Imperial Rides moves you in style, clean, comfortable, on time, every time. Book your premium taxi or tour service today. Call or WhatsApp 869-665-8459 or email elandflavas@gmail.com. Imperial Rides Transportation Services. Your journey, our priority.
Remember to support and donate for June. Remember, June going through some medical issues, so we are encouraging the general public and the community to donate as little as you can. Little is much. It's a community effort, and now sometime coming up is an event also at the park. Also go out and support that event. The donations also going to help the medical care and stuff like that. So come on, make this possible for June and her family, and give your support as a community effort. Greatly appreciate all those who have been donating at this time and those who continue to donate. Also remember, if you want a golf cart customized, Rolling Deep Card Services, Nathaniel, check him out at 665-9912. If you have idea, just take it to Nathaniel. He'll customize whatever you want. Remember, Rolling Deep Card Services.
Midas Asensio Inc. invites you to our Reflect and Reset Micro Retreat. This event will be hosted by Dr. Kay Nisbet, a neuroscientist and mental health advocate here on Nevis. Reflect and Reset is an annual event designed to help you accept change, reflect on the past year's achievements and challenges while setting goals for the year ahead. During this relaxed and reflective event, you'll engage in a neuroscience discussion about your brain and change, a guided writing session, and of course, refreshments to keep you recharged. The events take place on Fridays at 7 p.m., Saturdays at 11 a.m., and Sundays at 3 p.m. at L'Escale or Luna Restaurant every weekend in January. To RSVP, call or WhatsApp 662-6521. The events are just $150 EC or $55 US per person, with 10% off for students, teachers, and healthcare providers. We invite you to register for a solo experience or bring a friend, parent, child, sibling, or partner for a paired experience. Start the new year with intention. Step outside your comfort zone. This event is designed to help you improve your pattern recognition, mental focus, clarity, and critical thinking, as well as process your successes and setbacks and provide a sense of control and purpose as you start the new year. RSVP today. Start the new year with Midas Asensio's Reflect and Reset Micro Retreat. We're waiting for you.
All right, and we're back with the second half of the topics for this evening. And if you're just joining us, if you just happen to be, scrolling through whether it's Facebook or YouTube or Twitch TV, and you've bumped into Real Entertainment Network, what's happening? It's another exciting edition of the topics here on the Real Entertainment Network with our special guest this evening, Honorable Dr. Shawn Richards, one of the only active members in the parliament, in the opposition seat for the People's Action Movement at this point, playing a role that he would have been playing for a number of years. I recall those days, Mr. Richards, always, I must say, always appreciate your voice inside. And one of the things it demonstrates to me and personally, I think, based on the fact that the opposition members and people need to understand this, and this is one of the reasons why I could understand, it's a emotional thing and sometimes maybe an ego thing for you guys and so on, but I am offended when you guys, whether up to not go in parliament or walk out of parliament and so on, because personally I see it as almost the only time you all get to do your job, so to speak, because the fact is, when you all are elected, even though you're not getting as much money as the elected officials, you all are paid his loyal opposition members. And so you represent a group of people who did not successfully get a chance, but you get that opportunity to be that voice for them. And so they expect you to go there to also, oppose and or critique and so over the years, as that lone voice in there, I respected the fact that you would, amidst all of the, would stand up and make your points and, amidst all the critique and so on, and which is what we expect. And you would have highlighted earlier on in your discussion that when you got in the first time, you were a bit shaky, but after getting an opportunity to become a government official and understanding how things work inside, you are now even more effective as an opposition member. You're not the opposition leader at this point, but play a very significant role in the opposition and as opposition leader. I just wanted to kind of add that as you get back into your point and give you an opportunity for us to figure out if your audio is fully sorted and much better and so on, and then give Banky that opportunity to ask some of the questions he probably have for you. Sorry.
Thank you. I have relocated as I indicated I would. I hope that the listeners in particular are able to hear me much better, because indeed this program is not necessarily about myself or the two of you hosting this program, but to give the listeners of the program an opportunity to be able to hear the answers to the questions that you have asked, and for them also to be able to partake in the discussion by asking their questions.
Yes, definitely. And it sounds as if we have an improved audio, so let's hope that it stays that way. Banky, anything you want to jump in at this point and bring on the table?
Yes, Shawn, let me say, just want to thank Shawn again for coming and accepting our invitation. Greatly appreciated, and the audio is much better right now, so that is perfect. Let me say, Yason, Shawn is one of those person, once you call him as a politician or representative, he do call you back. And you got to give quick kudos to when a representative is like that, and there are only a few of them. When you call them, there are some who just not even, and it's amazing. So when you find people like that, when you do call and the call back and very openly and very easy to talk to, it's very easy to see why he's in the position where he's at and still holding on to that seat, because of his personality. He's just a genuine person. So I just wanted to just put that out there. But let me get back to where I know Shawn touched on the Bastia High School, and also talk about the hospital. But as the on the team Unity, as the Deputy Prime Minister, you was also in charge of education, and I know there was a hospital. I'm not sure, but I know definitely the Bastia High School. There was
drawings and posters up and stuff like that. And there was some challenging within that party. I'm not sure what was the reason why that project never started. And also now under this new government is the same discussion with the hospital and the Bastia High School. And then just recently in the House, you spoke, and where I don't see why you're not the opposition leader, because right now this is very confusing. As when you watch the parliament, or every time one is in debate, the leader of the opposition is seem to be on the government side, is not opposing. It takes you, if not Mr. Harris, to be opposing. So it's very confusing for one who watch and don't really understand, don't figure, well, it's just two opposition leader. Person in the House is really an opposition. So something like this, I mean, I hope it could be clarified where if the leader is not really representing as they're supposed to, that position should be taken away from that person. But my question to you is, this government here is now bringing up the same situation when it comes to the Bastia High School, and in the House, you made some, well, I guess it's facts, so, but I'll say allegations to the government where a company named Conco, or you'll never pronounce the company name, Precamco, had given yes, some money to start this project, but as I said, it's just nothing going on. So what is really, and they're given X amount of shares, and which the project's supposed to cost less than 40 million, but then it's over 100 million. So what's really going on with the Bastia High School from under your present at the Deputy Premier Immunity to now this guy's a lot of money being spent, and that the taxpayers is the one who really feeling this brunt when it comes to money gone under the former administration, and no more money again. So how much it gonna really cost? And it's over been a decade. It's so much people have been graduated and stuff like that, and it's still nothing. So guide us through on this.
Thank you. To perhaps address the first aspect of your question, yes, I served as Deputy Prime Minister from 2015 to 2022, and as Minister of Education from 2015 until 2020. When I became the Minister of Education, we inherited a situation whereby the Bastia High School had to be closed several times because of environmental issues at the institution. The first order of a business, the first priority is then for me as Minister of Education and for the then Team Unity administration was to find temporary facilities to accommodate the students at Bastia High School. You had a situation whereby the students were attending the school on a shift system. That was affecting not only the students of the Bastia High School, but also students of the Washington Archibald High School, because they were sharing facilities. It was becoming frustrating not only to parents, but to students, teachers, and basically all of the stakeholders of those two particular institutions. You were not able, for example, to have a fixed schedule in place, knowing that your child is going to school for these particular set hours every week, etc. Because of the shift system, it also means that in terms of contact time with the students, teaching time, because you're operating on a shift system, the students were being shortchanged in terms of getting the necessary, the required hours that they would need to satisfy their educational requirements. So as a matter of priority, the Team Unity administration went about seeking a site whereby we were able to build temporary facilities to be able to house the students of the Bastia High School. Even before that was done, we had successfully bring the shift system to an end. We invested a substantial amount of money, $2 million, in ensuring that the students were provided with temporary facilities so that they can get the benefit of a full classroom experience, etc. After that had been completed, then we set about trying to identify a site to build a brand new Basti High School. That process took a bit of time. As a matter of fact, we had put a committee in place to determine what is the best site that that school can be located on. Without going into too much details, because it would actually take a bit of time, and we're actually at 20 past. I think in your case, it's 20 past 9. In my case, it's 20 past 8, because I'm currently in the US and it's an hour behind. And let me pause here to indicate that earlier, I think it was Yasan who would have indicated that through my tenure as a member of parliament, I've always taken my role quite seriously. I am overseas. I'm going to be overseas for an extended period of time, attending to some personal matters. And so in terms of parliament, I want to say to persons, if you don't see me in parliament, if you don't hear me in parliament, it's not that I have abandoned my role as a parliamentarian, but I do have some personal matters which I have to attend to at this particular point in my life. So we engaged a committee, and that committee came back with 5 different possible locations. And then eventually the committee ranked the particular locations and determined which one they felt is best for us to be able to build a new school. When that was done, of course, we had to engage the different technocrats, etc., architects, etc., to now begin the process of designing a new school. And so we set about doing that, building a new school, and not just building a new school, but if you're going to build a new school, you might as well invest in something that is state of the art, and not something that I would deem to be similar to the current facilities that you have all of the other high schools, because times have changed. And with the changing times, you have to ensure that in terms of facilities, what would be best? If you're going to invest a substantial amount in a new school, what do you want to see as part of that school? A modern library, gymnasium, those sort of things that you may not necessarily see at the current institutions that we have, ensuring that in terms of being able to handle the current technological needs and the advances in technology, that the school is able to do so. So all of those factors would have been taken into consideration. And this was also done in consultation with the stakeholders of the Basti High School. So you had that being done. To be honest, it gives you an appreciation for government and how the system works, because sometimes you think that it is easy to implement a project. But when you have to go through several stages, be it the design stage, be it the choosing of a site, be it getting the necessary financing, getting plans approved, consulting with different stakeholders, etc., it is actually quite a time-consuming process. So that was undertaken, and then we had designs. Eventually, we had the groundbreaking ceremony to start the construction of the new Basti High School. Let me add that that project wasn't without its share of major controversy. A large part of the controversy was where the school was to be sited, where the school was to be built. Persons had concerns that it was being built in the New Pan site area, where you have the aquifers serving the Basti area, and whether or not you would have seepage, etc., into the aquifers. If that was taken into consideration by the person when they chose the site, and even in terms of the school, that was also taken into consideration in terms of the design and certain facilities that you were going to put in place to mitigate against that particular risk. A company out of Barbados had been selected to do the construction of the school, the very same company that had been contracted to do the temporary Basti High School, which was built in a few months. But let me add that even though it was a company out of Barbados, which was given the contract for the school, the actual construction was subcontracted to a number of different local contractors were involved in the actual construction. And I can name some of them, but that is what was undertaken. When we thought, okay, we had made progress in terms of that and ready to begin the construction of the school, there is a particular lawyer which sent a letter to the government signaling that there possibly would be a legal challenge to the contractor and the way that the contractor was awarded this particular contract. Now, if you look at the Procurement Act for the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, it speaks to how you go about procuring, whether it is goods or services for the government, and in particular when it comes to contract for construction, it also speaks to that. One of the main claim made by the lawyer in that letter is, okay, when you came into government, perhaps it could have been considered an emergency procurement because you had a situation whereby the students were being affected, and so you needed to bring an end to this very quickly. And so you were able to exercise that particular part of the Procurement Act in terms of awarding a contract without taking it out to tender. It's an emergency. You need to get it done as soon as possible. And so some of the things that you normally would do, the need for a number of different contractors, the time that you have to put it out there for tender, etc., you were able to bypass those things. So the lawyer was now asking, well, okay, what makes this, after so many years, an emergency procurement? And so the government was forced to relook at that. And so a decision was taken to basically exit that contract. It took time and negotiations with the then contractor to come out of that contract because it was a legally binding agreement. How do you get out of it? We sought advice from the Solicitor General, etc. And eventually the government was able to come out of that particular contract. So we were able to get out of that contract, and the project was then basically given to Public Works, with the intended contractor from back then becoming the project manager because they had been involved in the designs for the school, etc. So you would let them manage the project, and the intention was then to tender different aspects of the project. The local contractors again would get an opportunity. Whether it is you're going to tender the electrical aspect of it, the plumbing aspect of it, the construction aspect of it, the excavation of the building site, etc., those would be tendered accordingly, so that you give the painting, so that you give as many local contractors as possible an opportunity to become involved and to make something from the construction of the Basti High School. And so we got to that stage, and shortly thereafter, of course, the government collapsed. And so the construction of the Basti High School never actually got off of the ground. But from everything that we had done, one can certainly go and research what I've said, and you would recognize.
So where the funding Where the funding was going to come from, and how much it
Local
would have
revenue.
cost?
The funding was coming from local revenue, and we were looking at approximately, I think it was about 81 or so million EC dollars for the construction of the Bastille High School. Persons
Because
also
right
had
now,
questions.
it seems like a temporary Bastille High School have come a permanent high school now. So it says luckily those temporary stuff had been built, because if they were still going to be on the shift system, they've been on the shift system forever. So I mean, it's crazy to see up to now. I mean, and from this government have so much thing to say, and they just can't get off the ground. Is it funding a problem with this government? We can now go back to where in the house that you mentioned that you spoke about, and you can give the listening audience what you spoke about, the cost and the money that was given to this contractor and stuff. So what the mobilization fees, but where you mobilize, and
You are
which
correct.
site is this happening now? Which site? So let's get into that part of it. Okay, it never. But for the Bastille High School, how much money under your watch has spent then? Because that money is lost. That if any have been spent, whether it's in whatever fees it is, because there have to be a cost and all this stuff. So how much money have been spent up until your time when the government have changed?
Thank you for that question. Very good question. And yes, as I said, the priority was to ensure that you bring the shift system to an end. And so we built the temporary facilities, which up until today, the students are still utilizing. The lands, however, that were used, those land not owned by government. We entered into a lease agreement with various owners for the land where you have the temporary Bastille High School. Let me put that out there. Fortunately, fortunately, the owners recognize that in terms of the education of the students, that must be a priority. And so they allow the government to enter into a lease agreement.
Big up the owners them on that. Greatly appreciated. But now they have created a permanent school and the people them land. This is crazy.
That is why you would also recognize. You would also recognize
this is laughable.
That the construction, the material used to construct the temporary school is wood.
Of course.
Because the land doesn't belong to government. Now, as to what is going to eventually happen, if there is a construction of a new school, and indeed there ought to be a new school to house the students, because that site still doesn't have all of the facilities that are needed for a high school. Yes. When we were in government, we had expended, I think it's some $21 million in terms of the management contract itself, because the management contract had a date from which it began.
ECRUS.
EC. And the public works had sort of lagged behind in terms of getting the project off of the ground. The current Prime Minister has made a big song and dance about it. And during the budget debate, he said in a body in the National Assembly, he should speak about Bastille High School. He dared anybody to speak about Bastille High School. And I listened and I smiled, because I had my facts, not allegations. I had my facts in terms of what has been spent to date by this administration for a new Bastille High School. And up to November of last year, the government had expended some $10 million to a company out of the very same Barbados that they criticized in respect of the construction of the Bastille High School. Now, we didn't make it a secret as to the company which had been engaged to construct the Bastille High School. We didn't make it a secret. And so I asked a number of pertinent questions. Who is this company? Why is it that the public has not been told anything that a contract has been given to this particular company? What it is you're hiding? And additionally, there is that critical question in terms of the Procurement Act and whether or not it has been adhered to in respect of awarding that contract to the Bastia High School. I wasn't in the assembly when the Prime Minister gave his wrap-up, but I understand that he used the excuse that it's basically being funded by CBI, by that particular statutory corporation, and so there is no need to adhere to the Procurement Act. But even if he is correct, a statutory corporation engaging in a project of that magnitude, you don't think it is best that you want to ensure that you get bids from different companies to ensure that you spend what is public funds in the most economical, efficient way as possible, just as the government. As a matter of fact, the statutory corporation is owned by the government. So why is it that you want to give a contract for $100 million to build a Bastia High School to a company without putting it to tender? Now, as I said, he was making a big song and dance that the former administration, Team Unity, spent, give me a second, let me just finish.
Yeah, go ahead.
Spent $21 million and there's nothing to show. And so I showed a picture of the construction site, which is the same site that the Bastia High School had previously been located on. One still doesn't know if the site is contaminated, but they're taking that particular risk. And you have now advanced $10 million, 27 million EC dollars to that company. And what is there to show for it to date? Absolutely nothing. Not even a construction shed.
So earlier you mentioned the cost under the Team Unity would have been 80 million EC.
Yes.
And presently now the school gonna cost $100 million.
100 million US.
And the Team Unity, it was gonna use the public fund, and now they're gonna use CBI, which is a statutory body, and a foreign company. So why can't local people could have done as the Team Unity was gonna do? As you said, public works manage the job, and you bid out the other the foundation and stuff like that accordingly, and so as much as many people get jobs. So why they went the opposite way? Because you was accused of the company out of Trinidad, out of Barbados the same way and stuff like that, and then it come down to where you do it locally, which is the best thing to do. Because we have great contractors, we have great architects, and that is my thing. We need to trust our people. That's why we went to the same school. We had study the same thing, have the same brain cells, and something even better, more creative, because it's us doing something for us, building it for us, our children, generation to use. So that was a good move where you all had, but then they went the opposite way. And now they're going to use a statutory body to sell passport, to give it to a foreign company. This doesn't make no sense.
Before Mr. Richards respond, right? This is one of the things when we do have guests like Mr. Richards, right? It's always so interesting and intriguing, and there's always sometimes another follow-up question to get into something else that sometimes we do forget a little bit of our other listeners who may want to call in and be a part of the program and so on. And actually, there was somebody who was trying to call in, but I told them, give us a couple of minutes so that
they can call in. The lines are open. They can call in. The lines are open.
No, I'm going to do that now. So I'm just going to put alert Mr. Richards that the lines are going to be open. So folks, if you want to call in, you can call in 1-869-665-8459 or 1-869-662-7196. Those are the numbers to call in to be a part of the program. There are a number of other questions, but tonight we kind of have to be tight as well. Technician have some, personal baby daddy duties and all that to deal with and so on. And so we're going to have to be, on point this evening. But, folks, if you want to call in and be a part of the program, the numbers are 1-869-665-8. Let me slow down a little bit. 1-869-665-8459 or 1-869-662-7196. 7196. A number of questions are on the Facebook wall again as well. Any grounds for legal challenges of the SSZ law and the Destiny Project on Nevis? When will him or any one of the parliamentarians table the dual citizenship bill and the legislation that's blocking persons who have a foreign passport from running for parliamentary position? Why only certain citizens can run for politics? Because the politicians on the ground are pledging allegiance to a foreign entity. Thus, the legislation that blocks persons with a foreign passport and who pledge allegiance to a foreign country is being discriminated against. Why small businesses can't get a financial injection, and it's alleged that 27 million was given to Marriott Hotel interest-free. Banky Unity used to waste money too. Then okay, so
you can go ahead and read it, because
okay, so they say
of answering all of the comments.
Them say Shawn Bill hot for 250K. So those are the rest comments at the Facebook wall. Sorry, and that's Facebook. Yes, that's on the Facebook wall. Okay. Yeah. So callers, if you want to call in, just kind of, we want to make sure that we give everybody an opportunity for their voices to be heard. Some would prefer to write in on the wall. Some would call in. Yes, and I know Mr. Richards, as you always say, your back is broad, and so you would stand up to anything. I love your spirit. So we could continue. Bank, if there's anything you want to ask, Mr. Richards, I think you were going to get into something before I stopped you. You could do that, and then
I think Shawn was asking him. I was asking him, how come this government take the opposite way, and now they're using a statutory body and giving to a foreign company, why you could not have? So is there money is an issue? Is not the revenue is not there, and the money is there? Why do they have to take this route? Because it seems like every project now is using the CBI, the creative arts, the this, the that, they're taking this way. And then my thing is now, what is the plan for your party for the next upcoming election? Because it seems like election can call anytime now and it's due by next year. So what is the plan to make sure and to move the country forward so that these things are not happening again? Right now the economy seems to be really sluggish.
Thank you. You could spend the next 20 minutes responding to what you just stated, but I'm going to try to be as brief as possible, but as effective as possible in terms of providing funds.
Of course.
You indicated that local contractors are quite capable. Now, when you look at Ross University, whether it is the veterinary school or you look at the one there just to the bottom of McKinley, all built by locals. So certainly we have the examples to show that locals are capable of building a secondary school. If they can build universities for foreign investors, why can't they build a local school for the government? You ask why the school is now being built by a statutory corporation and funded by CBI revenue. And I smiled because, one, as I said to you earlier, government is broke. When you have a deficit within 3 years of some 700 and I think is $20 or some $1 million, that is a clear indication that the government doesn't have the money to invest in a New Bastia High School. And so now you're using a CBI funding. Interestingly, it is this very same government which said that the former administration had too heavy of a reliance on CBI funding. But your biggest capital project, $270 million, is now being funded by CBI revenue. So what really has changed in terms of that particular dependence? I am also of the view that it's a smartness to give it to a statutory corporation because you know what deals you have entered into with the particular contractor, etc., for the construction of that school. And I can say more on that, but I will leave it there. The comment that is
Okay.
on the screen that Shawn built a hut for some $250,000. That came up, I think, was sometime there about in 2022. Shawn went and he did a Facebook Live and he spoke about the construction of that hut. That hut was built by the Urban Development Corporation at the time when construction started. No one in management or on the board had indicated to me as the minister with oversight that the hut was being constructed. I did my investigations upon finding out, and I took the necessary action in terms of that. As a matter of fact, I went further and engaged a local engineer to go look at it and provide costing as to what it should cost. And that information was provided to the Urban Development Corporation. The interesting thing is that I think is the Makana is the name of the company, which now transport persons between St. Kitts, St. Martin and Gwilla, etc., has been utilizing the very same building, and it's not a hut. It's a 2-story building. So the Urban Development Corporation is now, which is Port Zante UDC, now collecting revenue every single month by being able to rent that particular facility for their operations at Port Zante. So there is nothing there that Shawn has hidden from the public. I've spoken about it
So,
and more.
Christian,
Hold on, Banky. Hold on, Banky.
Uh-huh.
There's a call
Yes.
on the line. Before you get into that
Okay,
question,
go
Carla,
ahead.
good evening.
Okay. Yes.
Good evening, man. How you guys doing, man? Good evening to you and the guests.
Yeah, we're doing okay. Give
Good
thanks.
evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, straight to him. Let's get about the comments at the Dr. Jew Prime Minister Roundtable. The MOU about the DeTopiks coming in and the exclusion of the Haitians as a CARICOM member. I just wanted to maybe give some comments on that if he was paying attention to that at all. Secondly, this is an internal question, internal party question. When the election comes up, right, if Pam wins a few seats, well, and they're in the majority of the seats, and the leader of the party doesn't win her seat, what is going to transpire at that point? If Pam gets in a position where they have the majority of the seats, but the leader of the party doesn't win her seat, who from the Pam party or who will be able to take prime ministership if the party so, make a decision to go that way? And I hope he understands what I'm asking with that. I know he does. And lastly, back to the debate in the parliament, the budget. And I know you and Harris made a great presentation, man. I'm really satisfied with that. You guys finished the year strong. Let me ask you we see that the government, 3 years in a row, is operating the government under a deficit budget. Can you explain to the listeners what a deficit budget is and I know you were just talking to that type of stuff just now, but I'm still going to ask this question. Explain to the audience what a deficit budget is and what is your takeaway from that? What kind of conclusion are you coming to with the fact that the government is running the country under a deficit budget? And I'll leave it there. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much,
I
Carl.
didn't quite hear the last part of the question.
I think you were saying the fact that they're running a deficit budget. What's your thoughts on that and how they navigate that?
Okay, thank you. Let me answer the second question first because I think that one might be a little easier. Again, if we go to the Constitution, it says how the Prime Minister is chosen, and the Prime Minister is the person who commands the support of a majority of the elected persons. So that is the mechanism that will be used to determine who the Prime Minister is in the event that Pam wins a majority of the seat and the leader of the party is elected. The First question relative to the Haitians. From the very day when the Prime Minister made his announcement, I would have posted on my Facebook page a very simple comment. And that comment basically says that it is interesting that St. Kitts and Nevis has refused to sign on to free movement within CARICOM, but you have signed an MOU with the US government to supposedly accept deportees from all of the CARICOM islands/countries, with the exception of Haiti. I have since said quite a bit more on that particular issue. I have stated, for example, that one, from my information, this agreement was signed since September of last year. There was no consultation with the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, and it ought to have been such. I also asked a question as to why are you excluding the people from Haiti? Haiti is a part of CARICOM, and as such, the people of Haiti should not be excluded if you have signed such an agreement. And I could go further into that. Very recently, I also did a next article, which is also posted on my Facebook page, to show, because there are some persons who have tried to justify it by saying that on the Team Unity, when I was Deputy Prime Minister, some 49 persons were deported to Haiti. And so I pointed out that under successive administrations, you have what you refer to as legal and illegal immigration. Just as somebody decides to bring a gun into the country, you could do it illegally by getting a permit to do so. If you don't get a permit and you bring it in illegally, you face the consequences as outlined by law. If you come into the country legally, then of course you're able to enjoy certain privileges and certain benefits. If you come into the country illegally, the deportation is one of the things which the law speaks to. And I pointed out that successive administrations have exercised that particular aspect of the law. And not just for persons from Haiti, but you have had persons from Dominica, you have had persons from Venezuela, etc. You have had a German national who was deported under Denzel Douglas for overstaying the time allotted in the country. So you have different infractions, whether it is coming illegally on a vessel or you overstay the time. So there was no exception. There was no discrimination in terms of that coming from Team Unity. However, what you have now is discrimination when you're going to sign an MOU to discriminate against persons from Haiti being deported to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. What sin it is they have committed? Simply because they were born in Haiti? There has been an argument about the number of Haitians already here that you provided for. That is a matter that was taken to the court, and the court basically forced you to take a particular action in terms of those persons being able to apply for amnesty, and you're granting them amnesty. So that has happened. But outside of that, you have persons, whether it is through the OECS free movement of persons coming in every day, and you don't hear the argument that if 50, 100 of them come within a year, that you are unable to accommodate them because there's no limit to it. You have persons coming in from the DR, a lot of them opt not to go back, and so they are here. So what is the issue with persons from Haiti? The Prime Minister at the roundtable discussion also stated that he expects very few persons from the other CARICOM countries. So is it that you expect very few from other CARICOM countries, but you expect an influx of persons from Haiti through an agreement that you said you have control over who to accept and how many to accept? It doesn't make any sense. Absolutely no sense. And to the last question, which was asked in terms of an election, the possibility of an election and whether or not the People's Action Movement is prepared for such an election, I spoke to that earlier. I said that the party has been making strides in terms of naming candidates, undertaking town hall meetings, engaging persons in the different constituencies so that our policies and programs are driven by what people indicate they would want to see us do as a government. I think there might be some aspect of the question which I perhaps haven't addressed, if someone can remind me.
The last and we're talking about with Yason with the government.
The plans and programs by a People's Action Movement government to move the country forward. Yes, we are in the process of putting policies together, looking at different programs that we intend to implement as a government. We still have our manifesto from 2022, which we are also using as a guide, because some of the things which we would have stated in that manifesto are still very much relevant today in terms of moving the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis forward. The budget presentation, yes, in terms of the leader of the opposition, yes, you have a leader of the opposition who comes from Nevis, and we could go into a whole discussion about that. I could recall during my very early years in Parliament, when Vance Hamlin was the leader of the opposition, he had taken a position that perhaps as a Premier of Nevis, he is not the best suited person to serve in that particular position. And that such, the late Malcolm Gishard then became the leader of the opposition. It was felt that in terms of conflict, even though he was from this very same administration, he wasn't the Premier and perhaps in a better position to serve in that position. We have had arguments over the years, debates over the years about the Constitution, and it is sometimes when some of these things happen, of course, persons are able to reflect about some aspects of the Constitution, and certainly after 40-something years as an independent nation, constitutional review is quite timely.
Yason?
Okay, so we got a call on the line. So before I even respond to anything, let's see if we could give the caller 30 seconds. Caller, we kind of on the last leg of the show, so I'll give you 30 seconds.
Thank you. Good night, Honorable Shawn. Good night, Banky. Good night.
Good evening.
This is the voice of independent candidate Winston Welcome. Shawn, I never met you, but I've listened to some of your commentaries, and it was a great performance at the last session at Parliament. Well done, well said. Moving forward, Shawn,
thank you.
I hope I'm not getting into personal, but there is something that is taunting and haunting citizens of anywhere, and that pertains to the Brian Clause. Now, you were in a predicament where you had to make a tough decision, and to be as a representative of Parliament. Now, don't you think, looking back at renouncing or give up your citizenship of the United States was a mistake on the Brian Clause that pertained to citizens who were born in St. Kitts and citizens who were not born in St. Kitts would not be qualified, but going back to you were born in St. Kitts, even though you had a foreign passport, you were entitled to serve in your country. And I am frightened with the fact that that part of the Constitution has been misinterpreted. I mean, I will like your view after you had made that you had given to that such decision and explain to the people who might be in the predicament. And only one question I'm going to ask, because that is something that I feel like it was not understanding perfectly for that decision you and actually Lindsey Grant also made. So can you give us some enlightenment, because I guess you studied it and set the record straight once and for all moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you,
for
caller.
hearing me.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Richards.
Thank you, caller. Indeed, I was affected by that particular clause in the Constitution. I spoke about it earlier. I said I had to go to Barbados and renounce my U.S. citizenship. I also said just now that it is quite timely for a review of the Constitution. It to go specifically to the legal aspect of it. It is a matter which has arisen not only in St. Kitts and Nevis, but in some of the other Caribbean islands, where you have a similar clause. And I do believe that it was tested in the court in some of those other territories, and that the court basically sided with what the Constitution says. Is it time, perhaps, for it to be challenged? Because indeed the law evolves. What a judge may have taken into consideration back then, someone, a legal scholar, might be able to provide a different argument and convince a judge that this isn't, in terms of the interpretation of the Constitution, this isn't what the Constitution intended. However, as I said, I am of the view that the best manner to deal with this is through the Constitution, and there's some amendments which can be made to the Constitution without going to a referendum. Some of it can be done simply through I think a 2/3 vote within the Parliament. Whether or not at the end of the day you would be able to get that 2/3, one can only answer that if it actually comes to the floor for a vote and the outcome of the vote.
Okay,
I
Mr.
personally
Richards.
agree with it, and I think it ought to be changed.
I would like to follow up with 3 seconds.
Okay, quickly.
Now, I think I viewed that part of the Constitution as simple. That Constitution, that part of the Constitution never spoke to you as a born citizen. It was spoken to people who are citizens but did not born in the Federation. And for that reason, that should not have affected you. But I believe the scholars and did not put their weight on it to clarify. But I am a simple person. I understand things and I look at things. And that's my personal perspective. But I don't think that should have affected you.
Okay, caller, I think it might be something to discuss, but the thing is, the timing right now. We have a limited time. I wish you probably would have called in a bit earlier. To deal with that. So I'll let Shawn probably respond briefly, and then we try to wrap up because we just have about 3 more minutes basically. Okay. And so thank you very much. No problem at all. Mr. Richards, quickly.
Yes, very quickly. I think the caller might be confusing 2 different clauses within the Constitution. There is that clause which speaks to persons who are not born in St. Kitts and Nevis, and whether or not they have parents who are born in St. Kitts and Nevis. And so he might be confusing that part of it with the clause now, which speaks about having dual citizenship. 2 different sections.
Okay. Now, before we wrap up, what's your stance, and probably you might, if you're in a position to give Pam's stance on the SSZ Act and projects like Destiny, the benefits versus risk for Nevis land and communities. You could use prior context, or you could use even the most recent, where in listening to the press conference of the Premier today, he said that he is definitely in support of the project, and he has presented it to the Prime Minister. So there's no if and buts that he is for it, but he said he has not signed on to it. He has given it to the Prime Minister for him to review. And so your perspective, and you could get, if you're in a position to give Pam's perspective on the SSZ, and then similarly the projects like Destiny, and the implications for the lands in Nevis and the communities and so on from your vantage point.
Okay. In the interest of time, I'll try to be as very brief as possible because I know you said we only have
Yes, you're right.
like I said, less than 4 minutes now. The People's Action Movement, through its leader, has stated that the People's Action Movement is of the view that the legislation pertaining to a special sustainability zone should be repealed. Now, I can go further with that because I understand both sides of the argument for different reasons. I understand the concerns which have been expressed by persons throughout St. Kitts and Nevis and the reasons why persons would have those particular concerns. I also understand the NIA and trying to bring a different type of development to Nevis, etc. I think what has been quite unfortunate is that this proceeded without consultation with the people, because I do believe that through consultation that there perhaps could have been a compromise position whereby all of the different stakeholders are given some level of comfort in terms of such a project. What are the things that the developers want? What are the concerns of the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis? In terms of the Nevis Island administration, why do you feel comfortable with this project and how do you see the project benefiting the people of Nevis? And I think through consultation, that a compromise position could have been had, which may not fully satisfy all of the different stakeholders, but a compromise position is come to where that each person feels that at least I have gotten something, that my concerns, my interests have been addressed. That hasn't taken place, and is there still room for that? I do believe that there is still room for that. In the absence of that, this project will continue to be controversial. As I said, I understand some of the concerns coming from all of the different parties. Whether it is you want to look at the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, the fact that we came from a landless society, and so the feelings that a type of project of this nature would evoke when you take developments such as Port Zante, and you feel that it is more geared towards foreign labor, imported labor, etc. And so you have concerns about taking that happening with the Destiny Project. I understand that. I also understand from a government standpoint that we're trying to show.
A quick follow-up question that probably could tie into that. How can SSZ zones prioritize local jobs and agriculture over foreign investors, and at the same time protecting Nevis food sovereignty?
A good question, and I believe if you're speaking about sustainable development, that it becomes a relevant part of the discussion. How do you put the necessary legislation in place to give the incentives, to give the priority to local persons, whether it is in agriculture, etc., to be able to take part in development? One of the arguments that I made during the budget debate is that the government keeps speaking about diversification. But when you look at the budget, you don't see the necessary policies, the programs, etc., coming out of the budget that would lead towards that diversification. What are the areas that you want to go into as part of diversification? What incentives are you going to give to locals to undertake investment in these particular areas? It came out earlier that 27 million was given to Marriott as an interest-free loan. Well, what about local businesses, small businesses which are struggling? What about persons who want to go into business? Why can't you provide a similar $27 million so that those persons are able to get the funding, whether it is to take their business to the next level or since you're speaking about diversification, and these are the areas that you want to diversify into, you say that this money is only available to persons who have projects which satisfy the diversification agenda of the government.
Mr. Richards, whenever you're here, like I keep telling you, it's always interesting to have the discussions, and we have exceeded. I remember when you at the top of the program, you
Yes, sir.
asked.
Let me tell you in my comment when Shawn discussed this thing here, because the premier mentioned in his he just had a discussion today or yesterday, today, right? It was the premier thing, right?
Yes.
Exactly. Because he called in those who don't support the Destiny Project pundits. Okay, so I guess me and your pundits. Then he also went on to comment and mention that the story about Jesus and Barabbas, and they chose Barabbas over Jesus, which he sees himself as the modern day Jesus for saving the Destiny Project. And what we now see, he gets a lot of different ideas when you want to explore the oceans. He talking poetry, you can't be fearful and all these things. And so what he's saying that is a lot of people in St. Kitts who are talking now, they don't want the project because they don't want to see navies get ahead, and then navies end up on whereas it become an issue where they're jealous of navies. And so this is how the people putting it over. So those who are speaking in St. Kitts, so when navies wanted the fair share, where is them to advocate, and then none of them ever even open and say boo. So I hear nothing from those who not supporting the project in St. Kitts in navies. So this is how the premier put it over in his press conference today. So you are getting what to Shawn, so you're one of the pundits. So you can team Barabbas.
That's okay.
So you
Well,
can't escape team Barabbas.
Interestingly, I think this is the first time I've ever commented publicly about the SSD project. And as I said, I understand the concerns, the interest coming from all of the different stakeholders. So basically, I don't agree with everything. I don't disagree with everything. As I also said, my last degree was in creativity. And so in terms of creativity, I have a better appreciation for certain things, and you're not taking risk and coming up with novel ideas, etc. But as I said, part of it is how you go about doing it. Because even in terms of coming up with creative ideas, there are different ways to do so. Part of it is brainstorming. And part of brainstorming is engaging different persons to get ideas from different persons. So that could have been part of the consultative process in terms of this project, and you determine where the compromise position is instead of the controversy that you now have surrounding the Destiny project. So I hear the premier, I understand some aspects of what he is saying. I don't agree with everything. I don't disagree with everything. I've heard the public. I don't agree with everything. I don't disagree with everything. The developers, again, I don't agree with everything, and I don't disagree with everything. But it is where it is at this particular point in time, and as I said, persons need to continue to speak out as to what it is the government is doing, that they like, that they don't like, and what are the changes that they would want to see, and how do they go about advocating for such changes.
Beautiful.
Mr. Richards, like I said, right, at the beginning of the program, you were asking how long is the show? And we told you, we're going to go through this 2 hours like it's 2 minutes. And so we have already exhausted the 2 hours. I'm seeing my technician giving me some signal in the background. So I know that, he's ready to take it away. But I must say we have covered a number of topics. We have, covered a number of things. And I think the people would want you back. So, Banky, we're probably going to have to organize to have Mr. Richards back sometime in the not too distant future so we could continue this engagement. But I'm going to give you an opportunity to close off, give your closing statements, and I'll leave you with this last question to wrap up with. What one policy change would most transform St. Kitts and Nevis in the next year from your perspective? You could, think about that as you make your final statements, and we want to thank you for accepting our invitation to the platform. We want to thank all of our listeners for tuning in, and for those of you who shared the live and shared the link, and look forward to having you next week. I'm just kind of talking like this to give you an opportunity to formulate your response for that. So now,
already have my response.
Okay, good, wonderful. Let's go.
My response would be along the very same line that I spoke about, consultation. And consultation must be meaningful. I think that is a policy change which is needed going forward. Because we may support different political parties. We don't have to agree in terms of everything. But I think if you give different persons, regardless of which political persuasion they come from, the opportunity to make an input, to share ideas with government, whether it is ideas pertaining to some of the pressing issues that we have and solutions that we need to bring, whether it is ideas coming from persons as to how we can take the nation forward. I think coming out of those discussions involving a cross-section, a broad cross-section of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, you would be able to get so many ideas that would lead to different policies and different programs that would then move the country forward. And you would also get more buy-in from citizens because they have been part of the process. So it becomes easier for you to implement those particular programs. It becomes a lot easier for you not just to implement them, but to get persons to, whether it is provide the necessary resources, etc., to ensure that the policies are effective, whether it is you need for persons to review those programs because they were part of the process of coming up with those particular ideas which have led to these policies and those programs, you would get a better buy-in, a better representation from the public in terms of doing that. So that would be my simple recommendation. Again, I want to thank both of you for having me on the topic this evening. It has been quite an interesting discussion. I have enjoyed it. I don't run away from engaging with the public. And so whenever you want me to come back, you know how to reach me, and I will be quite happy to do so. Thank you to all for listening, and thank you for all of your questions and comments. They are indeed appreciated. Have a good evening. I don't think I would have taken the opportunity from the start to wish all persons the very best 2020. So as I close, I want to wish everyone the utmost best for 2026 and ahead. Thank you.
Appreciate
and we thank you very much. Thank you, our Real Entertainment Network team. Mr. Richards, don't run away quite yet to have a yes or no question as we're going to close out. But thank everybody. I want to thank all of the folks who would have commented on the Facebook wall, all those who would have shared, all those who made their contribution via the calls. We totally appreciate you. Banky, my co-host, as usual. I mean, we do this. Mr. Richards, as we close, this question is kind of inspired by the last comment. So it was the second to last comment, sorry. The Prime Minister said that Nevis is owed well over $800 million. Shawn wins election, the next election. Will Shawn make sure that is paid, yes or no?
I think the best answer is whether or not the country has the money to pay it. If you have the money to pay it and legitimately it is owed, then my thing would be to pay it. If there isn't the money to pay it, then you can't pay what you don't have. Oh, you know something?
Great to end the show.
The question, no, but the person asked the question as to what is a budget deficit. And that question I did not answer. And to answer it very quickly, it's basically a government spending more money than the government is receiving. To put it in layman's terms, if you as an individual making $2,000 and you're spending $5,000, you'll have a deficit because you're spending more than you're earning. You may ask how you're able to do that. You're able to do that because you borrow funds, for example, from a bank or different financial institution, or you get credit from somebody. So You go to courts, you credit something for whatever money, that would put you in a budget deficit. You are spending more than you are earning, and that is what the government is doing.
Thank you very much. I like how my yes or no question kind of created a hole. But anyway, thanks everybody. It's a part of the excitement, and we look forward to having you next week with us on another edition of the topics, and Friday when we have Brother Walcott James in on another edition of Everything Agriculture. Thank you all, everybody. Sorry about the extra time, technicians. We really appreciate the extra efforts that you guys go through to make this a reality. Thank you, everybody. See you guys Friday on another edition of Everything Agriculture.
At Shabazz Organics, we believe real people deserve real food. So we're bringing you to Mansa's Last Stop, a farm where food barriers are removed and legacy is sustained. We believe there's power in picking, so we allow you to decide what leaves the farm and enters your kitchen organically.
Beat the summer heat, come and get your carambola, star fruit, make very nice drink. You can come pick them yourself. All the trees them full of vitamin C, antioxidant, build up your immune system. Mine's the last stop. A whole shopping bag for only $10. Half a shopping bag you pay $5. If you get $2, you must get some. Come get your carambola. Don't want to go to waste. Let's go, people.
When comfort, class, and reliability matter, choose the ride that delivers more. Imperial Rides Transportation Services, where every journey is treated like royalty. From airport transfers, private events, shopping trips, island tours, and executive travel, Imperial Rides moves you in style, clean, comfortable, on time, every time. Book your premium taxi or tour service today. Call or WhatsApp 869-665-8459 or email elandflavas@gmail.com. Imperial Rides Transportation Services. Your journey, our priority.